Good Sunday morning. I'm Hugh Keaton.
And I'm Bill Snyder. And on any given day, our first responders see things that many of us will never see in our lifetime.
The Mississippi First Responder, PTSD, and Suicide Prevention Task Force has formed to help our law enforcement officers, firefighters, and EMTs deal with the stress and danger that comes with the job of keeping us all safe. Here to talk about why this new task force is important, Gulfport Fire Chief Billy Kelly and Mississippi Highway Patrol Major Johnny Polis. Thanks for joining us for this important issue that is continuing to become more of an issue as we go forward. As you're presenting this to the legislature, and that's the plan to make this a bigger topic for support for your individual law enforcers, why is it important to get it going?
Well, I think Billy will agree with this. This is a topic that is not new. What is new is the ability and effort to put it on the legislator's screen along with the public. That is new. That is something we've never done before, just based on the stigma that is attached to this topic. So we're looking forward to it and gaining ground and moving the needle and being able to provide support and actually have some really good services in place.
I think one of the questions is, well, why did this come up now? But we were talking about it before, Billy, about how we grew up to tough things out and those type of things, and it eats away at you and eats away. And fortunately, now we're starting to realize you guys are on the front lines, and that stat you told me about how many traumatic events, kind of talk about that, because that kind of hits home as far as why this is needed.
That's correct, Bill. And talking about the traumatic events, the average population, the average person sees 3 traumatic events in their lifetime, and what is defined as a traumatic event. A first responder, an average is 9 per year. So you do that times 25 years, that's a lot of tragedy you're seeing, and while you're on the job, so that's a staggering statistic, and just being able to talk to it and get past that stigma is a big deal.
Yeah, it's a lot to take home every day. We just saw one of those traumatic incidents this week with the train crash in Pass Christiana, and I thought about the first responders, the first people who were there and saw what that would have been.
And again, you mentioned that, and Billy just touched on again about what first responders see on a daily basis that the average citizen may never see. But it just doesn't have the effect on the first responders. It affects their family members as well. This repeated exposure to these type of critical incidents, we've never really sat back and thought about how do we train first responders when it comes to dealing with these critical incidents. We can provide equipment. On the firefighter side, the training that they go through, law enforcement, we can issue weapons, we train you on defensive tactics, how to drive. But what are we doing to prepare you for the mental fitness part of doing this job 25 years? We've never scratched the surface with that. We're hoping with the task force, we're going to do that and more.
Yeah, I can think about it as a journalist. I think I've seen some things, but not scratching. You do as well, Hugh, but we're not even scratching the surface of what you guys have seen, what your staff has seen. And you talked about the thing happening at Pass Christiana. That's on a daily basis. You respond to wrecks, but there could be cardiac arrest and things like that people don't know about. Those things also pile up too. Trauma is trauma, basically, right, Billy?
That's correct. Every day, 24 hours a day, first responders they're responding to these incidents. And like Johnny said, these first responders, when they get off in the morning, if they're lucky enough to get off and don't have to work another shift because we're short, they go home with it and they take it home. And the last thing you want to do is bring that baggage home to your family and your kids, and so you shut it off, and that's not healthy.
So what we're talking about with these experiences, studies have shown that suicide rates among first responders is higher than the average person.
That's correct. It's really troublesome for me to look at stats, and we lose more first responders, law enforcement officers, definitely, than we lose to suicide than we lose to in the line of duty deaths.
Wow.
That's staggering. That is just unbelievable for me. And therefore it's so important again to come up with solutions, programs to mitigate these type of incidents these first responders see day in and day out.
Yeah, I was looking at some of those stats before we came on the set here, and there's different reasons, obviously the trauma, but there's also a guilt factor I saw, which you think on the surface, why would you feel, but you feel like, hey, I could have done more and that type of thing. And that goes towards the mental aspect of it, right? Not just that, but, all encompassing, I suppose.
You always think that, that you wish you could have done more. When I was on the truck every day, and I remember coming back, and me and our crew, and we would critique every call. Mm-hmm. Hey, how'd we do? Well, from the smallest call, but you always do feel that guilt, whether you're in a house fire and, you didn't get in there quick enough to pull a victim, or whether it's a cardiac arrest, you just didn't get back. There is a lot of guilt involved with it.
Okay, so we basically laid out the problem there. How do you help? How is this task force going to go in and specifically correct what is the issue?
So we're going to look at some evidence-based things that other states are using that actually have programs in place, not only just for support, but actual services that can be rendered and taken advantage of by the first responders and their families. But I can tell you it's very important for us to publicize this and to normalize these type of conversations. To give you an example, the 911 issue that we had yesterday, put that on the radar screen for a lot of people, right? The importance of having 911 to be able to communicate. Let me ask you a question. What would happen if you took first responders completely out of the picture for one day?
You'd have a lot of chaos.
See total chaos. You beat me to
total
it.
chaos. So with that being said, it is so important for us not only to train on the physical aspect, we have to start training on the mental fitness, where these first responders can have a long life, a long happy life, along with their family and their children as well.
It seems like that's one of those where if I have something, I just try to think about myself, I try to talk about it with somebody. Is that really kind of the first step, communicating it, or is it a deal? Because it used to be we had to bottle all these things up, right? Is that?
I think you hit on it. First of all, is just change that culture and that stigma within our organizations to be able to talk about it and bring those things up. Like you had brought up earlier. Years ago it was all toughen up.
That's it.
Well, toughen up over the years hadn't worked because, as Johnny said, our life expectancy as first responders is 10 years less than the average person. And then that's not even compounding that, that for first responders, law enforcement, and firefighters, that we're more likely to die from suicide than we are line of duty. We got pretty tough profession.
Yeah, I think that's the most powerful thing you've said here, just to really hit that point home. Well, we thank you both for coming in and talking about this important issue, and we'll watch it as it goes forward. You'll be talking about it in the state legislature coming up this year.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you for having us.
You betcha.